So I thought maybe if I could share my own story, it might be able to help somebody out there who's going through a similar thing. Yeah, so here's my story, my journey. Hate that word, but it is a journey, motherhood. Um, yeah, so throughout pregnancy, I was very positive about it. I was reading all about hypnobirthing. I was convinced I was going to have a water birth. And I know when they tell you to write your birth plan, they say be flexible, and I thought I was 100% flexible as long as I stuck to these rules about hypnobirthing, which is not being on your back during labour, just being in a quiet, dark space, having my music, my oils, practicing yoga, having my husband by my side. I thought at least I could control that. It didn't really pan out that way. So I think I went into labour. It was Easter Saturday night. My first contractions were sort of very early in the morning on Sunday. By about 7 o'clock, I felt like I couldn't even cope anymore at that stage. I was shaking uncontrollably with every contractions. I was throwing up. I think my body had actually gone into shock. Simon was timing them, and they seemed to be about 3 or 4 minutes apart. So we thought it was close. Went to the hospital about 7 o'clock that morning, and yeah, we're told I was only 1 centimeter to go back home again. I couldn't believe it. I was in so much pain at that stage already. But we went back to the house. It lasted until about lunchtime, and then I just had to come back. I remember the midwife when I came back saying, "Well, I'll tell the doctor you're not coping very well." And I just thought, is that normal? Is that, I mean, me as a person is not coping where other people are fine? Is my pain threshold just lower? It's hard to know what's normal and what's not. And so anyway, because I was still only 1 centimeter, I was put into an antenatal ward, with no painkillers. Well, paracetamol, that was it. I was still having contractions every few minutes. They were horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't talk. I had to have the belts around me to monitor the baby, because with a lot of contractions, they felt so intense, and the baby's heart rate was changing rapidly. And I was there all of Sunday. Then it came to Sunday night, and about 8 o'clock, they said Simon had to leave and go home. And I just cried. I just couldn't believe it was happening. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. But because it was an antenatal ward, it wasn't a labour ward, it was against policy. I wish, thinking back about it, that I would have insisted that he stayed, or just gone home with him, because then I just had the night from hell. There was one midwife on who just, told me, "Oh, go bounce in a ball and try and get some sleep." I was like, "Sleep? Are you kidding? I am in pain every few minutes. I can't sleep. I'm absolutely exhausted, and I'm just in so much pain." And that was just the longest night ever. And then the next morning, Simon had come back very early and been waiting outside in the car. I couldn't find anyone to talk to. There was it felt like the hospital was empty. Finally, like, the doctors came round to do their rounds, and I was trying to get a girl's attention to say I really need some more painkillers, and she just kept saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'll get it sorted." And 45 minutes later, I was just beside myself in agony, and the paracetamol still hadn't arrived. Not that it really makes much difference when you're in that much pain. And then when the doctor came around, I think I had to be honest, the labour was so long I can't remember at what stage what things happened, but at some point during that day I had another internal exam. They said I was still only 1 centimetre, and I just remember hearing those words, and I just was like, cut me open and make this stop. I can't go on. I'm absolutely in agony. I'm so beyond tired, it's not even funny. So that the labour went on for 40 hours before I got moved to the labour ward, where at last I got some gas and air, and it was just the most amazing feeling ever. Then I was given I chose to take some remifentanil, which was unbelievable, amazing, except that it ran out after about 2 hours, and the anaesthetist was in theatre, so couldn't give me any more, and then I was just back to feeling everything again. I had to have my waters broken, and then still it wasn't happening, so I ended up having to be induced. And then when it came to the end, it was I thought I needed the loo. I went and basically collapsed on the floor, and had to be lifted out back to the ward, back to my bed, sorry. And that's when it was all a big panic. Then suddenly there was doctors everywhere saying, "Oh, we really need to get this baby out now. We really need to, the heart rate's dropping. We need to cut you. We need to get this happening. Lie on your back there. Get your legs in the air." I mean, at that stage you're in so much pain you can't speak. But I give Simon the terrified eyes look, and I think there's nothing you can do at that stage. They're in panic mode. He's not gonna start arguing with him. The baby needs to come out. Why? In my head I was like, this has been 48 hours by this stage. How is it suddenly a massive panic at the end? Could how could they, how could this not have progressed sooner? How have I gone through all this to still have to give birth the way I really absolutely 100% did not want to? So I was in hospital. So that was early Tuesday morning she was born. So from Saturday night until Tuesday morning I had no sleep at all. I actually just felt I didn't feel human anymore. I just felt delirious with tiredness, like kind of in a haze. And then so it was 3 a.m. on the Tuesday morning, and here was this newborn baby beside me, and then they told Simon he had to go home again. So I was just left completely on my own. I remember one of the things he said to me before I left was, "Oh, it'd be really easy to steal a baby out of this hospital." And I was like, I actually can't believe you've just said that to me. I need sleep, but how am I meant to sleep after that? The thing is, you don't really get sleep though if you want to breastfeed. So I was up very shortly later trying to breastfeed, and I had no flipping clue what I was doing. Couldn't do it. But that's probably for another post. Anyway, that's my story, and it's a normal birth on paper. I remember when I actually finally got home, the midwife saying to me, "Oh, so you had a normal birth then from your notes here?" And I was like, "What? No." And she was like, "Oh, what do you, it says here it was an 8-hour labour." Like, what? You add another 40 to that. Okay, by normal birth you mean a vaginal birth. Yes, I had a vaginal birth. I don't think there's anything normal about it.